Hi, I'm Tamara Zoner. Welcome to Spirit Cafe. Come in, sit down, and grab a cup of love. Welcome, Spirit Cafeers. This is Tamara Zoner, and I am super excited about our guest today. She calls herself the Gritty Mystic. Tracy King activates potential. She's an intuitive channeler and transformational teacher, and she helps her clients reveal where they are in the levels of awakening. This is going to be fun, so fasten your seatbelts. Welcome, Tracy King. I'm so happy to have you here.
Woohoo! Oh, it's good to be here. Good to see you.
So tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey and how you came to be the Gritty Mystic, which, as I just mentioned to you, I freaking love that name.
Oh,
And tell
girl.
me what it means to you, because we all have our own interpretation of words, no matter, even if we all learn the same dictionary definition of gritty and mystic, what they mean to you are something different and unique. So I want to hear all of it.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's go on our journey. So, I grew up in a very Christian fundamentalist family. And that was my spiritual experience, which made being an intuitive child who, was able to see spirit and just like my imaginary friends were very literally real to me. I mean, it was like
So right from
uh,
the get-go, you're seeing.
just right from the
Yeah.
get-go. Yeah. And that being framed as either an angelic or demonic experience, it immediately introduced fear into spirituality for me. And so growing up in that kind of environment, really trying to connect with the religion that I was in the bubble with, but really always never being able to um, really make it feel real to me. Just always being in trying mode and never in the that's my authentic experience mode, no
Mhm.
matter what I did. And I mean, I'm neurodivergent. And so I go all in when I'm studying something, trying to understand and, make meaning with something. And, my little kitchen table seminary just showed me that the flaws in this system that I was involved in. But it really took the dissolution of my marriage
Mhm.
and the dumpster fire moment of realizing the trauma and abuse in my life that I had accepted as normal. For me to be able to even come to the table and question this system that I had just fully, swallowed and accepted because, of course, just steeped in it from my first days. And that was really, I affectionately call it my dumpster fire moment, but it was an awakening. It was a realization that, what I had considered true may not be true. And just opened way for this massive journey of asking myself, what do I want? What feels authentic and meaningful to me? And giving myself permission to accept the things that resonate yes and set aside the things that resonate no for me. And it's been a absolutely beautiful spiritual journey. Does not mean that it has been easy by any means.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because getting to your question about Gritty Mystic, I mean, crafting a personal spirituality, crafting a practical spiritual path, um, it takes some grit and some guts to do that.
Yeah.
It takes digging in and asking hard questions. It takes changing your mind when new information becomes available to you.
Yes.
It takes being able to sit with people of differing beliefs and be curious. It takes the ability to stand up for what you do believe in while holding that curious position.
Mhm.
Not easy. And just to the point of transformation itself. Can we acknowledge that there's some pain in that? There's some death in that. There is renewal as well, but it's not easy to completely reframe your entire life and build upon a foundation of personally set stones of meaning. And so that's where the grit comes in because you got to be gritty and gutsy in order to step into the space. But so many people are resonating with that. And the mystic part of it is I'm just like flipping cosmic. And so I connect very cosmically and just love to talk about, to communicate my very spiderwebby understanding of what is possible for us, of what reality actually is, of what we can become if we only allow ourselves to connect with and embody more of the soul self that we are. And so that's the capsulated version of where the gritty mystic came from.
Oh, well, that's a beautiful nutshell. There's so much in there in the, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes you were just sharing so many beautiful things. And one of the pieces that stood out for me toward the beginning was that you examined your thinking. You realized that, hey, I've been thinking these thoughts all this time because essentially someone told me to. And now, are they true? Do I actually believe them? And I think that this right there is the key to open the door to transformation for anybody. Because if
Mm.
we just go on believing what we've been told and programmed and thinking and never question our thoughts, how do we change and how do we light up that fire of transformation? And it is destructive and it is messy and it can be super painful and it's always worth it. It's always worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, growing up in a fundamentalist system, a high control religious system, of whatever definition, you are just objectively taught not to think critically. you know?
Right. And you mentioned
To
fear right at the beginning. It's like
Yeah.
it is a function of control.
Yes.
We talk about this on Spirit Cafe all of the time. It's just religion itself is fear based,
Yeah.
but spirituality is love based.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
so let's reach for that. Let's explore that. Let's dive deep into that.
I love that. So, how did you so you have this fire dumpster dumpster fire moment in your marriage where everything kind of totally resonate with that, where we finally start telling ourselves the truth of our lives
Yeah.
and say this isn't working for me. What what was your real wake up call in that experience? What caused you to say, "Wait a second.
Oh, is there one thing?
I don't probably not, but, like, I know I had a
Yeah.
moment where I finally all the little voices, all the little pieces finally went, "Hey, stop ignoring us." And I had, like, this visceral, full body, you know, realization that I wasn't walking my talk and wasn't living in integrity, and that needed to immediately change, and I couldn't stay where I was any longer. Or literally I could die, like,
Yeah. I feel that.
so did you have a moment where it all kind of came together and you went, not 1 second more?
Well, in the midst of that experience where I was trying to find myself and meaning in a life that was constructed from the outside that looked like it was all the things that one would want. Nice, home, beautiful family, part of a respected part of a religious community.
Mm,
And yet inside I was like dying. I was suffering from an eating disorder. I was suicidally depressed. And there was a day when I was like, okay, I mean, we're at a choice point here. The ideation was not just vivid, but to the point of pretty prescriptive planning.
okay.
And so it was like, so is this what we're doing? Or are we going to find a reason not to do this? And the reasons not were, of course, my children,
Mhm,
but I had to allow myself to entertain ideas outside of the system that I was so traumatized from.
mhm.
And so allowing myself to secretly read
Oh,
what
wow.
other, spirituality writers were writing about, what, women who had autonomy over their own body were writing about, what, parenting looks like outside of a high control system. And I was like, wait a minute, that actually is the life I want to live.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That sounds a lot more like living.
That sounds like living to me. And I have to also give props to my therapist who finally was the person who was like, Tracy, these things that you're describing as normal in your life are not normal, categorically not normal. And how about we consider an alternative, right? If, that was definitely a turning point too, to get an external perspective.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm all for therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy rocks. If you haven't had some, people just get some.
Go get you some.
Even if you think you don't need it, it's just amazing to speak to someone objective who is there just to listen to you,
Right.
just to be there for you. That was for me after my divorce, to have someone. She was like, "You don't have to ask me how I am. You don't have to ask me about my day." And I was like, "What? It's just for me?" Ooh.
I know. Does not compute. Let's learn more about
Right?
that.
I'm a mom, I was a wife, I'm like, okay. So that's
Yeah,
like, oh, such a gift, such a
for sure.
gift.
Mm.
Okay, so you start transforming your life. How did your kids respond? How old were they?
I have 4, and so they ranged from, like, upper elementary school, crossing the line into middle school to, 3 years old.
Okay. Okay, so
And
still
so
in those formative years.
very much so. And, of course, there was a lot of pressure that, "Tracy King, you make this decision, you're gonna ruin your children." And how manipulative is that for moms who sincerely like the thing that grounded me on this earth was them, and
Yes.
like protecting them and caring for them and doing what I could to scrap together the energy that I had in service of them.
Mhm.
For people to say that, I have so many feelings about that.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but somehow I found it within me that I decided that I will do my best. They will give me feedback, but they will know. They will see the contrast between me and their other parent.
Mhm.
And I don't have to tell them how rotten my experience has been. All I have to do is show up and love them and do my best. And that's what I did. Not easy by any means, but I, kind of somehow I told myself the truth in that moment,
Yeah.
and I just kept leaning into that, and that's exactly what happened. And so it's definitely challenging. It was definitely hard to hear their dad's stories through their mouth,
Yes.
and for me to just like hold space for them
Yes.
and not try to argue with them about his perceptions of what happened.
Mhm.
And there are days when you're parenting and you're like, okay, I probably blew it forever.
Yes. I
I don't know how this is
had
gonna
those
turn out.
moments.
You don't get the culmination of the feedback until basically they're young adults, and then suddenly we're in this beautiful space of, it wasn't perfect, but I understand why.
Yeah.
And we can have a very honest, truth-bearing relationship around it.
I think that's so beautiful. I have 3. They're all teenagers now, 13,
Mm,
16, and 17. And literally last night at the dinner table, I was like, let's do a check-in.
yeah.
How am I doing? Like, what feedback do you need to share with me? Here's what I'm thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're like, no, you're
Right.
pretty right. Yeah. Like, okay,
Yeah.
good. Because it's so important. I identify with so much of what you're saying. Obviously, we had very different experiences, but there is a universal thought among mothers considering leaving a marriage, which is, am I going to ruin my children's lives?
Right.
Because all the information out there tells us we will. Oh,
The
children of
patriarchy.
divorce. Yeah, and it's not true. And I fully believe. And so anyone listening who's on the fence, knowing that the relationship is so toxic, if it's toxic to you, it's toxic to them.
100%.
And, I know for sure that my kids are as okay as they are, not only because of the
Mm,
therapy that I get them, but because I'm healthier and happier.
right.
And so they get to see that in a human taking care of themselves and how
Right.
I show up for them and in the world and for myself. And I think that if we teach our children nothing else, it's how to care for themselves.
I mean, let's not model staying in a toxic relationship
Thank
anymore.
you.
Can we do that?
Please. Please. I love this so much. This is so where I wanted this podcast to go as we let go of our friend John, who was my co-host, because I think these conversations are so important. And, you talked about grit, and in that is courage. The
Yes.
courage to leave any situation, the church, a religion, a dogma, a work relationship, a marriage, any even your own parents, to leave a toxic relationship of any form takes
Mm.
grit and takes courage, and you're better for it. You're better for
Yeah,
it.
and can we just like acknowledge that people who are following and carving out a personal spirituality and are no longer just cancel the subscription to all of the high control systematic stuff,
Yes.
that they realize their children are their own little evolving beings and we don't have to make them be anything.
Amen.
All we have to do is provide them what every human needs, and that's safety and love and caring about their feelings and connecting on, that multidimensional level that feels so good to us as humans.
Mhm.
Um, Kids just they need to matter, and they need to be able to come home from a world that is not kind and respectful all the time and find that safety. And that was like I feel like one of the greatest gifts that I've been able to give my children, because when within that space they can develop that critical thinking. We can have conversations like you did. There was no asking for feedback when I was growing
Right?
up.
Not me either.
In fact, feedback was probably more so, more or less
Yeah,
punished.
shut your mouth, go to your room. Like, you don't
That's
talk to me that
right.
way.
Silence. And so it's such a beautiful gift to allow your kids to blossom as they will. They're here to do their own thing. It's not all about you.
Exactly. They have their own spiritual journey. They have their own journey. And that is, I think, one of the hardest but most beautiful things to remember as their parent, watching them go through difficulties and
Mm,
challenges and not
right.
taking them on as my own. Because if
Oof.
I take them on as my own and I can't be happy if they're suffering, well, then I can't help them. I can't guide them. I can't be present for them. So I've got to keep myself all cleaned up. That way I can be there for them.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
And, and that's how we offer them space of their own becoming, not trying to control outcomes. I mean, I'm not going to say that's easy because
It's not.
I feel pain in my body when my kids feel pain, and nobody wants to feel pain. you know,
Mhm.
we want to stop the pain, but be that level of being begets being, and so what a beautiful gift.
It's such a gift. And I'm betting working with clients too, it's that same thing. We're not
Mm,
of service if we're jumping down into the hole with our clients, with our kids, with our friends. We're of service if we hold out a hand to help them out,
right.
right? And so you talked about crafting a personal spirituality, and you're obviously modeling this for your children, but how do you teach someone to do that?
Mm. Well, we have to first start with where they are and what feels like, a weird limb coming off the back, or or not you, as we had talked about before, asking that question, does this belong to me? Does this feel authentic to me? We have to work through that systematically through our entire life before we can get to the foundation point, right? We can't construct a personal spirituality that we own if we're building it on top of a foundation that we don't own. And so we really have to do that first level of work, often a lot of shadow work in there as well, so that we get to a place where we're ready to build. And then when we've worked through our life and what we own, what we don't own, what's authentic, what's not authentic, what do I want is the natural next question. And we've already been doing a lot of sorting. And so there's already a lot of ideas that emerge around what does feel good. And realizing that when we're crafting a personal spirituality, you don't have to commit to something for all of the ages. It might feel good for a little while and then something else feels better because you didn't know about it or because you're in a different place.
Mhm.
And all of that is okay. And so you get to construct a life around how you are evolving as a being in this moment. And just holding space for what emerges is a big part of coaching. But also, my teaching is around the framework of spiritual alchemy, which can give us some orientation to that whole transformational process in the meantime.
Nice. So how do you work with people? What's your actual tell us about your business and how you work with clients?
Yeah, yeah. So I have the Gritty Mystic podcast where we have conversations with all kinds of cool people around the different types of practices, modalities, strategies one might think about when they're sorting their is this for me? And potential people you might want to work with or reach out to that might support you in that stage of your journey. And as a greedy mystic, I offer different types of coaching. And one type is just a hey, let's get together and let's chat about where you are in your journey. And I can give you, hold space for you, but also give you some tips based on the trajectory of spiritual alchemy if that resonates for you. And just really connect in with my guide team. I connect with other people's guides so that we can get them in that place where they feel confident making those decisions, because that's another piece of conditioning from high control religions is making decisions for ourselves is not allowed. It's not safe.
Right.
And so we have to develop safety and confidence in that. And then a longer coaching engagement where it's really all about you and your growth, more of a pure coaching, where I'm holding space for transformation, but it's really all about where you are. I'm not prescribing anything for you. It's a beautiful alchemical self-discovery and emerging that happens. And when you are just when you're plugged into, ready for, and allowing your own transformational development, embodying your soul self, just like connecting to who you really are and wanting that authentic you to emerge, I just the most amazing things happen. We can't even predict, right, what's gonna happen because and it's all connected to who you are, which is the most beautiful thing, but you get to experience more of yourself.
Yes.
And me holding space for that allows you to experience that while we're together and take that into your day to day.
That is so beautiful. Part of my heart grieves that we're in a world where we need permission to be who we are.
I know.
And yet I celebrate that we're at the point in the world and in our own evolution that more and more of us are giving ourselves permission and then holding
Mm,
space for others to do the same and really step
yes,
into authenticity.
that's it.
Like, there's so much in simply being who you are. People actually love you. Like, how can you be loved if you're not actually showing up as who you are? So
Right.
if we're feeling that separation, it's because we're not actually embodying our own being. So,
Yeah, people are connecting to a character, and that's why
yeah,
that doesn't feel good.
right? It doesn't feel good for anybody. And
Mm,
there's this distance between us because we can't. Our hearts are like, hey, wait, you're not who you are. It's like those
yeah.
magnets when they're backwards, right? But when we show up in our authenticity, we connect.
So, listeners, if you take anything from this conversation, you hereby now and forevermore have permission to be
Yeah,
your authentic self.
I second that. I second. You have a great podcast voice too, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. It is really good. So, what can you share one of your favorite stories, one of your favorite client successes?
Oh man, it's always interesting to me. I wonder who I'm magnetizing, right? And it just turns out often to be people who are having an experience that I had those years ago, right? And what a beautiful opportunity for me to hold space for someone whose experience is different but so relatable, and just see how they can then step into their own emergence. And bring questions that I asked myself, and bring just their own level of curiosity, and just see how how the answers are within them.
Mhm.
I think that's my very favorite part is when people come to coaching, they're expecting to learn, even though that's not what coaching is. Coaching is about me holding space for you to realize all of the answers are already within you. And we're going to allow them to blossom here while we're together. And I get to get curious about you and your experience so that you can find those revelations and realizations within yourself. So I have to say my very most favorite thing. I mean, as a coach, we come into the coaching experience, at least I do, coming from a consulting background is okay, so I want this to be high value spirit. I want to deliver the value. But it's not about delivering anything. It's about allowing what wants to emerge in this moment to emerge, and just the beautiful wisdom and actionable next steps that come out of clients without revealing their personal stories is the most beautiful and amazing thing to witness.
Yeah, so good. So beautiful. And when you're working with an individual, are like the guides just showing up, talking to you, being like, say this, say this.
Yeah, I will connect in prior to us meeting. And sometimes there'll be content that will become relevant in the session that I can share. Um, and sometimes there will be things that'll be happening. And, I need to compartmentalize the session between the peer coaching, which is allowing them the space to access their own wisdom, and
Mhm.
the space of here's what I'm hearing. Does this resonate with you as well? And so that usually comes at the beginning or the end of a session. Sometimes it's to tee up or sometimes to affirm, depending on what the content is. So I don't, it's not a mediumistic experience
Mhm.
for the client because I really want them to be empowered to connect themselves.
Yeah.
But, often when they're coming out with things, I can say, you know what, before the session, this is what I saw and heard. And I just want you to feel the affirmation and acknowledgement in that. You are connected with your team. You are perceiving your inner wisdom, and
Mhm.
that just feels so empowering to those who are on this journey of stepping from a powerless, high control, whether religion or relationship situation, into an empowered personal spirituality.
Yeah, that's so gorgeous. So is that your typical client, someone who is coming out of that same
Yeah.
kind of experience? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I fully believe that we go through what we go through in order to serve.
Right.
You know,
100.
so if I work with a lot of people who are divorced or parents, it's because I get it, right? I've been through what I've been through, and it's not the same as what you've been through, but there are
Mhm.
some steps along the way that we all can take to reclaim our confidence and our hope and our happiness and our sense of who we actually want to be so that we can be who we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, that whole becoming piece. I mean, once you're able to just anchor yourself in who you are, then you realize so much more is possible. And that's why I love the trajectory of spiritual alchemy, because it's comprised of three different awakenings basically. And the first is what is happening, not me. Something else needs to happen, right? And that's that dumpster fire moment that we often feel at the beginning of an awakening, that
Yeah.
so much has to get ripped down.
Yeah.
We've got to, tear down to the foundation here. But then we realize when we get anchored into what's me, what's not me, it's like, oh, there's a broader part of me that I can connect to. There's like a multi-dimensional part of me that I can be in concert with, right? And we step into this new space of aligning with that, of allowing that to have more presence in our lives. And then as we do more of that, we realize, oh my, that's actually me. I can be embody more of that and hold space for other people, people like you who are doing that, because of that trajectory of growth that we've taken. And what a beautiful thing for more people to be awakening now, for being on that journey, whether they realize it or not, that the more you step into owning who you are and embodying more of that, the broader your consciousness level is,
Mhm.
and how that impacts all of us is something that can't be necessarily physically seen at the moment, but is absolutely pivotal to what's happening right now.
And it's so felt. It's so felt because when we're happy within ourselves, when we're showing up as who we truly are, when we don't become something different. We just take off all the layers that have been, of dirt that's been put on top of us, and we're just like climbing out of all of that dirt to be who we are,
Yes.
then we give that same gift to everyone else. We can show authentic compassion. We can truly and deeply and authentically love others. And we're so much more accepting. And that just, it's this beautiful ripple effect of everybody else in our space getting to be who they are too, without
Mhm,
an
mhm.
expectation of changing for my comfort or my desires. No, you just get to show up as who you are. And if part of that triggers me in any way, then that's just another invitation for me to go deeper.
Exactly. It's like, "Oh, look at you over there having that experience. That's your choice."
Yeah. 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 And oh,
I'm
it's not
choosing to be over here, but it's okay.
exactly. And I just love I always say it's an invitation, it's an opportunity to simply grow. We just grow. We get to keep growing. We get to keep being more of who we are. We keep, getting deeper in touch with the soul that decided to inhabit this body.
Mhm. That's it
And
right
then,
there.
right? So we remember what the freak we came here for.
I know. It's gorgeous. I love it.
I love it. Okay, cool. So how do people work with you?
Well, you can hop onto my website, grittymystic.com. And there's a tab on the website, coaching and courses. I have some microlearning experiences that you can access for free. I have a video teaching about the beautiful story of alchemy that's also available for free. And then you can check out the coaching offers, the one-time one-on-one, or if we want to talk about working together on a longer basis, a package basis, then we can have a conversation about what that work might look like for us before you make a commitment.
Beautiful. And then, of course, there's the podcast.
Yes, there's a Gritty Mystic podcast. Hop in on that. My last episode, I interviewed Leon Vanderpool, who is the founder of the Transformational Coaching School.
Nice.
And absolutely mind-blowing conversation. I love it so much. And one of the questions that I had that I think so many people have is when we're on this spiral journey of growth, because growth is not a straight line, it's not linear by any means.
Mhm.
And we keep circling back to stuff, right? We think, oh, I've made it. And we have these sparkling moments of embodiment. I was like, Leon, how can we sustain that? How can we expand that in our lives? And the answer is as simple as it is hard. And it's what are we focusing on in this moment? Right.
Mhm.
And so it's like, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, that whole attention thing again.
Yeah, yeah. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to that conversation. Oh, Tracy, it's been so wonderful to talk to you. Yeah, this is good. Oh, I'm liking this gig where I get to keep people all to myself and then yet share them with the world. So
Oh, time flies when we're having fun. This
it
has been amazing.
does. It does. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you just feel like listeners or viewers need to know? What's your message to the world?
I would say you are here for a reason. You selected to be here in this moment. There's something for you to be. Focus on what you're being and becoming, less on the doing, because the doing that you want to do is going to flow from you being who you are. Connect with that.
Ooh, breathe that in, folks. So much wisdom. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, listeners, tell me what you think. Or viewers on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, do all that jazz. And I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for joining us on Spirit Cafe. Please leave all comments on our Spirit Cafe Facebook page or in the comments below our YouTube videos.